Firelights? Oh yes, look at this. Ooh, love the score. Go on, man.
You shy or just ugly?
Here it comes. Here it comes.
You look good for a dead girl.
Oh, there he is.
Echo?
That's him.
It's me, Vi. Same person who used to take you down to the junk heap and hose you down when you got covered in grease.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, he's.
People change. Gee, I wonder who I learned that from.
Ugh.
Oh, you should have learned more. You still punch like a little boy.
And you still block with your face.
Love the character design.
Stand up to me. I missed you, little man.
How long have you had those off?
How long have you been whining?
Nature has made us intolerant to change, but fortunately, we have the capacity to change our nature.
Oh,
This is
oh,
Shimmer. Will it work on plants?
oh God.
You aren't here about the plants.
Yeah.
Love and legacy are the sacrifices we make for progress. It's why I parted ways with Heimerdinger.
Whoa. Whoa. What?
He was my mentor, Mel. And I betrayed him.
In the meantime, try not to lose your nuts.
Man's out here looking like Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, even. Look at this. Sometimes you do have to go back to your roots. Ooh, the butterflies.
Lose her. They took her.
Oof.
She was there for me, not the enforcer. Why would I remember her name?
Fractured.
Stupid topsider. Caitlin.
Oh wow, this looks beautiful. Oh yes.
Steel tree?
Pretty cool, huh? When I first saw it, I knew this was the place. If a single seed can make it down here,
Huh.
so could we.
You built all this?
Not alone. Everyone here was an addict or a victim. They needed somewhere safe to start again.
It's that guy.
I should have been there. For you. For everyone.
That's a good way to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
Powder's gone by. All that's left is Jinx, and she belongs to
You're
Silco.
wrong. She's still in there. I can reach her.
You can't.
Wow. This is insane how
I
good
know
this
my
looks still.
sister.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
This is everyone we've lost. The price of our freedom. Some of it was enforcers. Most was Silco. Your sister works for him not because she has to, but because she wants to.
The other pink hair girl.
I was consulting a friend about our quandary. I told you I knew someone.
Well, you didn't say they were from the Undercity.
What difference does that make?
I'm from the Undercity.
They're dangerous.
I'm from the Undercity. No, he said nature was resistant to this sort of tampering. All right.
Is it in there?
We'll keep at it.
Looking suave again, my guy. Oh. Oh boy.
I gave you life, purpose. Don't forget again.
Yeah, oh yeah, he made his point all right. My god, the screen presence.
Good meeting.
There's one other thing.
Yeah, go on
This
then.
arrived for you.
Oh. Yeah, is that the family crest? Has someone died or... Finally, get my girl out of here, man. Oh, yes, look at this.
What have you done with Vi? Let her go. I brought her here. It's me you want.
My hero.
Ah.
I thought they were hurting you.
He's gonna have to do it himself.
Let me help you with that. Here, there, chasing down dead ends. And guess what? They're not all dead.
Yeah.
I can explain. Marcus never told me she was in Stillwater.
Oh, God.
But you found out she came back. You lied.
I wanted to protect you.
From what?
She and the Enforcer are back for the crystal. Not for you.
Oh.
Have you forgotten how she left you? Who found you? Who cared for you? Gave you a home? I am your family. Everyone else betrays us. I need you. Now more than ever.
This is the toxic element of this relationship.
Someone with the right knowledge could build any hex-tech device. If Enforcers are becoming more aggressive, that's why.
We could beat Silco with this.
That
Yeah.
won't solve things.
Gears are turning.
Easy for you to say. Your people aren't dying all around you.
But if you do, this cycle of violence will never stop.
Look at that.
This is our best shot at setting the record straight. This city needs healing. More than I ever realized. Please, let me help you.
One condition. I'm the one who gives it to them.
Oh. Oh, I like it.
Form is crude, but engineering is inspired.
You think they could crack Hextech?
We should prepare our own countermeasures.
You want us to build weapons?
Absolutely not. That is not why we invented Hextech.
Heimerdinger would never go for this.
Heimerdinger's inaction is what brought us here. You said so yourself. The peace is
he did.
already broken, Jace.
There is always a choice.
Oh, God. Ugh. Hey. Again.
What are they?
Yeah.
We call them firelights.
Ah.
I've seen so many, though.
Good. Oh. 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 Okay, my guy. Careful. Oh, Jinx is around. Oh, this is going to get tricky. Oh, beautiful.
I can't leave her again.
You can't change her.
I have to try.
Don't get yourself killed.
No promises. It's been real, Cupcake. Thanks for everything.
Oh no. Out of context.
Shut up. It's just a goodbye hug.
Good.
She wouldn't do that. Not again.
Sir, I have proof. Silco's behind everything.
Ah. Ugh. It's about to get buried. Oh. No. No, not like that. Yeah, like I said, it's about to get buried. Whoa, look at that. It's getting larger and larger. Wow. Oh my goodness. The detail in the expressions on Marcus's face. Yeah, something's about to go down here. Ah, the butterflies. Oh, look at this. They've been modified. Yeah, Jinx has been up to it. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I just got him back. This kind of goes back to the cold open of episode 1. Is Marcus dead? Yeah, call back to episode 1, cold open.
Tell my daughter.
Wow. Beautiful angle, that one. The lens used there. Oh god. She's gonna have to make a choice here. I'll take that. Ah. No. I'll take that. Classic, of course, the slide.
Oh, look who it is. The boy savior.
Oof. Oh. Oh. Wow. Whoa. Firelight and the Raven. Guess it's a game they used to play back in the day. No, this is reality. Whoa. This hesitation might get him killed, though. Oh. Okay, episode 7. That's incredible. That's an incredible ending. It's, it's one of the standout scenes of the entire show at this point. One of the most powerful moments of the entire show. Nothing had to be stated in that moment. It's all there. It's all there in the detailed change of expressions, right? These two individuals in that moment are going through some intense emotions, right? And changes, recognizing different things in each other's faces and eyes as they lock eyes. At that moment, that's powder. That's powder. And the returning Echo, who I think is essentially the star of this episode. I loved his reintroduction into this show. I loved it. I love this character. It feels like just in the amount of screen time they gave us in this one episode, I understood everything I needed to understand about Echo in all of that time off, or sorry, the time skip. There's just so much fantastic visual storytelling to kind of just bite into and, extract and read into. Before I go any further, I just don't think either one of them are dead. Like, listen, there's no chance. I honestly don't think there's any chance, even though it looks like she's dead, right? The presentation of that. Essentially, I feel like that's the symbolic death of Powder. That's it. If there was any bit of powder left in there, that's it. That was the end of it. I really felt like she wanted to go out on her own terms, right? As Powder in that moment. And the thing I mentioned about them seeing each other's expressions, their eyes, she saw, oh God, I'm getting goosebumps. She saw that her childhood friend, Echo, sees her as Powder in that moment. And there's that heartbreaking and subtle smile on her face. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm getting emotional now. Oh, man. That smile, that smile on her face, it was so painful. It was like this moment, a few seconds of, someone sees me. Someone actually sees me as me. My goodness, it's incredible. That scene is just phenomenal. It is. And her kind of releasing her bomb. Listen, if she really wanted to kill Echo, she would have, I don't know, stuck it on him or something. She's been known to do that, right? But no, she kind of telegraphs it so he sees it and perhaps has a chance to get out of there. Like I was saying, I don't think either one of them are dead, right? I just got Echo back. Everything just dictates that he can't be dead already, right? After getting this return just in this episode. And also, there is that element of a lot of these characters are based on the game, right? And actually, no. That shouldn't dictate if a character is able to be killed off or is going to die in the story. It really shouldn't, I think. But I know there is a season 2 coming up as well, though, to be honest, I'm not sure if it is a continuation of this story. Actually, maybe someone told me it is. Yeah, someone might have told me it might be a continuation of this story. But I'm not 100% sure at this point. I hope it is. I certainly hope it is. I don't want this to be done. I don't want to leave these characters. No, I do not. I just want to see them for as long as possible. Hopefully there's season 2 and beyond. Spin-offs could be nice as well, If you know me, if you've been around my channel for the last few years, you know how much I love a backstory, how much I love a prequel, I'm always thinking of, this could make a good story for a prequel. Heimendinger, imagine Heimendinger, right? At a different point in time, different era altogether. That could be something really fun, I think. But a thing I find so impressive about the show, even here in episode 7, third last episode, I've just got the 2 left. And it's a bittersweet feeling, of course. But even now, 7 episodes in, the animation, the art style, the art direction, everything, the subtle animation of the expressions, everything is still jaw-dropping. It's still just as good as the first time I saw it. Because sometimes you'll see something incredible, right? And it sticks with you for a few episodes. But then, you kind of get used to it. Your mind kind of gets used to it. But this show is something else, man. 7 episodes in, there's just these simple frames even sometimes that are just so beautiful and just so, I don't know, engaging to look at. And I feel that this final scene is actually one of the best showcases for the incredible animation and attention to detail of this show, right? The exchanges they're having just by looking at each other, looking into each other's eyes and recognizing the change, the differences. You see that Echo goes through it, right? At first, there's anger. Then there's confusion. This is all in his face and eyes. Nothing has to be stated, right? Then there's this sense of relief as he clocks, oh my God, that's my friend. That's my friend down there. That's Powder. Oh my God, it's just so beautiful. And after, that moment of relief, there's this sense of being hopeful even, right? You see his eyes, just the shift in his eyes. Oh my God. And then, of course, you switch to Powder. At that moment, yeah, she was Powder. Jinx isn't there for that moment. Jinx is kind of hiding in that moment. Listen, I mean, ultimately, it's the same person, yes, but there is this sense of a different personality that is suppressing Powder, right? Because it's just so painful. It's just so painful. It's essentially her mind trying to cope, right? I've talked about her issues and challenges that she faces, her mental illness, right? It's not something that should be taken lightly. It has such a major impact on how she perceives things and how she reacts to those things, right? But yeah, that moment, to me, it really felt like she's making the choice to go out as Powder because she's not sure. She's not sure how much longer she can remain this version of herself before Jinx kind of takes over again. And also, there's that really heartbreaking thought of, okay, I think that's it. My sister's gone. I've been replaced, perhaps. And it's certainly not a coincidence that Caitlyn does have blue hair, right? There's a lot of similarities there, right? At least from a physical standpoint as well. Both of them happen to be excellent shots as well, right? So you see that before leading up to this final moment, you see that Jinx is kind of building her up as this new demon that she's kind of going up against. This is the person who's stealing my sister, right? This is the person I'm being replaced by. Another heartbreaking thing that I've noticed here is that by the end of it, it's been flipped. You see Echo is the one who's trying to tell Vi that Powder doesn't exist anymore. She's gone. There's also a case to be made that he's trying to convince himself that Powder doesn't exist anymore. She's gone. Trying to maybe detach himself. So, if push comes to shove, or if the time comes, he is able to essentially pull the trigger. You see here, it wasn't, he couldn't do it. He holds back, and then he sees the person that's beneath his arms at that moment is the person he used to know all those years ago, childhood friend. And, it appears that they actually had a really unique relationship out of all of these people that are essentially family. You see that Echo actually does kind of get his big sister back earlier as well. And that hug earlier on, oh my goodness, it's actually really quite similar to Jinx getting the hug from her big sis. The warmth of that hug, to be embraced by someone that means so much to him, to be embraced by a member of your family. Because up until that point, he's really quite standoffish, right? He's really quite cold. But of course, her being the person that she is, she's able to read the situation, right? I love how she didn't have the cuffs on for most of the conversation, essentially. How long have you had those off as she hugs him? But those tears that came out, I feel like that might be the first time in a long time he's actually able to let go, right? You see that he had to take a different responsibility, right? He is a leader, that he did become a leader, right? And he did become this figure for a lot of people, this figure of hope, someone to follow, someone to help, right? You see that he had this beautiful refuge for a lot of these people, right? But ultimately, it did feel like he is a little bit emotionally cut off as well, that he does have a lot of anger, that he is fueled by a lot of anger. So I thought it was really good that she comes back into his life as well at that moment, that they both come back into each other's lives. Listen, it's clear that the major focus of this show has been Jinx, or one of the major focuses in terms of the trauma experienced by a lot of these characters. Jinx is front and center for sure, because hers is such an extreme case of it. But let's not forget that there are others, many others, that face a lot of the same trauma as well. That night Vander died, and of course, a few others died as well. Other people that are essentially considered family, Milo, Krager. You see that it was quite the impactful day for all of them, right? It changed things forever. But I love that Echo has this sense of honoring the fallen, right? The cost of freedom, the family they've lost, that beautiful mural, right? Of course, it's got all the major players that have been lost over the span of the show so far. I mentioned a few of them just now. But then there's also, it's one of the saddest things, isn't it? Powder is front and center. Powder is front and center. That person is still out there. But there's such a dramatic shift that they believe the person they knew all that time ago, they don't exist anymore. It actually kind of reminded me of that moment from Breaking Bad. I'm going to try to tippy toe. I don't want to spoil it because it's right at the end of the series as well. But I think it's the second last episode or the third last episode. Actually, I think it is the second last episode. If you know, you know. I think you'll pick up on it. This person that they knew all that time ago, he's not around anymore. And listen, you cannot beat around the bush, right? They've had their encounters with Jinx over the years, clearly, right? Just recently, she killed one of them right in front of Echo, right? That must have been Echo then, right? The main guy there. I remember he's kind of reaching out as Jinx shoots the girl who had the pink hair, who's also on the mural, right? So no one's forgotten. So, they've had these encounters, so much so that, Jinx is kind of jokingly calling him the boy savior. So they've had a few run-ins. Maybe he has tried to kind of get through to her over the years. But yeah, listen, I have a lot of sympathy for Jinx. I do. I feel for her so much. This tormented soul. But, the fact of the matter is now it's at a point, you cannot excuse some of the things that are being done here. And I do think it's an absolute shock for Vi as well to see this play out. They kind of hint at it as she sees Jinx just happily shooting people, right? Really engaging, right? Not afraid, no fear. She's actually enjoying the moment. And, again, that kind of distracts Vi, and then she gets knocked out. Something similar is happening here because now she's seeing her sister take lives. The bombs that she set off killed a bunch of them, a lot of them. Marcus being the most prominent, right? And of course, that setup of her tinkering with the butterflies, it pays off here, doesn't it? And you see that she's modified them to look like it's the firelights, that it's their doing, right? Because a lot of those firelights come in as well. So hold on, let me get this straight. I think I'm a little bit confused about this. I know the butterflies are Jinx. She modified them. She sent them in. But the other things are actual firelights, right, that are flying in. But maybe Jinx is able to modify the butterflies to attract or kind of guide all of these firelights towards that bridge as well, maybe. Because that's one hell of a coincidence if all those firelights showed up at that exact moment, right? That swarm of them. But it is clever though, isn't it? That in the middle of it all, you have these hidden butterflies that have been modded to be explosives. Jinx is a genius. She is. You see, Victor himself is really quite impressed, by the engineering of that bomb that he diffuses. And, a thing that is so noticeable there is that there's no fear. There's nothing. There's no reaction as he's diffusing the bomb. But you see Jace in the back. He's on edge. He's like, whoa. You see at one moment, it almost even looked like Victor kind of takes a split second to think about it even, right? And of course, that follows up by him saying, there's always a choice. There's always a choice. So, it feels like he's contemplated ending it all. At points, perhaps, he has. But he chooses to fight on. He chooses to inject himself with this specialized shimmer. So that's going to be fascinating, to say the least. Because first, he does have to inject himself with shimmer. And ultimately, yeah, he didn't actually believe that Jace is going to understand this, and that ultimately his choice is the one that matters most here, right? And he is making that choice. He is, right? He knows this is the price he's about to pay to potentially prolong his life. Side effects, right? You have to start thinking about that. So yeah, I'm concerned but excited at the same time to see the results of this. But also in this episode, you see signs of them not being as tight as they used to be. Not in the sense that they're not trying to be tight anymore, but there are certain things that are making it a bit tougher, right, on both of them. That they are kind of getting pulled apart slowly and slowly. or they're drifting apart slowly and slowly. But yeah, like the doctor said, love and legacy are the sacrifices they make for progress, right? And that's the reason he himself had to leave Heimendinger, right? It's crazy, you know, the connections. You see that Victor actually goes on to become Heimendinger's personal assistant, or not personal assistant, but I suppose just assistant. Perhaps a position this man used to hold as well, the doctor. Silco's doctor, essentially, who's, well, I mean, that's his role now, I suppose. But you see that Silco doesn't completely trust him either, but more so for that injection he has to take. And, you know, Jinx is the only one. That he trusts at that moment. But, you know, the thing is, earlier in the series, you see at one point that he does inject himself, but now it's a bit of a struggle for him. You see just how much they kind of depend on each other at this point in time. You really see in this episode a man who is really afraid to lose his daughter and afraid for his daughter, right? Yes, it's a little bit toxic as well, but you see that he does care for her. He is trying to protect her from any more harm, right? Any more trauma that she could possibly face. But also, I think there's a bit of a flaw in his thinking here. He's projecting a lot of himself onto Jinx. It feels like he's taking those sisters and putting them exactly in his shoes and Vander's shoes, right? He's looking at this situation from that lens, and then he's applying all those same things that happened between him and Vander to these sisters as well, to Jinx, who's kind of playing the role of young Silco, right? So he's really quite protective. I think he firmly, legitimately believes that, yeah, maybe Jinx might get hurt again, right? Because I think he knows that it's going to be tough for her older sister to accept Jinx as she is at the moment. You know, he made it clear Jinx is perfect, and he accepted her as she is because he doesn't see any flaws. He doesn't see anything that's broken about her, right? But again, you know, on one end, it's certainly quite nice that he does accept her for the person that she is. But there's a lot of issues there, a lot of issues that have been pushed down. You know, I think I made a point of this a few episodes ago, that these issues that are not being dealt with. So yeah, he does lie to her, or doesn't really tell her about her, you know, big sis being back in town. But I think ultimately it's more so to do with the fact that he is trying to protect her ultimately, right? Because I think it was the last episode, right? Or yeah, it was the last episode. She tells him she's back. She's going to get her sister back. So it's not as if he completely believes that she's only here to get the gemstone back. She's only here assisting the enforcer from Upside and getting that gemstone back. And of course, you know, a thing that's at play here is context, or no context, or not having the context, right? Because the dynamic that Caitlyn and Vi have at that moment, no one knows about that dynamic other than those two, right? In this episode, you really get to see that they truly understand each other, right? And it's a heartbreaking goodbye as well, right? The hug that they give each other, it's really quite tender and really quite, it's a loving hug, right? It's not just a hug of all right, you know, it's good, it was really nice, nice time. No, that's a goodbye that you give to someone that you really appreciate and you've come to care for quite a bit, someone you've come to love, perhaps. So I love that goodbye for sure. Though of course, you know, they end up together by the end of the episode anyways, because Vi had to get her out of there. And ultimately, let me kind of go back to my initial point about things being switched. Echo is trying to tell her throughout the first half of this episode, Powder's gone. You cannot bring her back. But he lets her try. He lets her try. By the end of it, it's flipped. Echo sees that Powder is still there. He sees a glimpse of Powder right in those final moments before she decides to end it all. And then you see that Vi now thinks that maybe Powder is gone for good. And she just doesn't recognize this person that's in front of her. She just does not know this Jinx individual, this Jinx person who is so, you know, so ready to kill. I mean, listen, she shoots at both of them, her big sis and Caitlyn. And you see that Caitlyn actually tries to protect Vi in that moment, doesn't she? And of course, Vi has to push her so they can dodge the bullets at that moment. They would have died, or they would have caught those bullets, both of them, right? And I feel like if they did, it would have hit Jinx hard at that moment because she was kind of lashing out because, the sight of this new individual that could be her replacement and also being an enforcer on top of that, being so friendly, right? With her sister, someone her sister seems to really care for. I mean, that much is clear to Jinx, right? As she sees as she sees her sister Vi running in because she thinks Caitlyn might be in danger. At that moment, you see Milo, the demon that's always in her ear. You see he grows to a size that she simply cannot ignore anymore. Again, the visual storytelling is just top notch in this. And she tries quite a bit to fight it. And she's quite successful for at least a little bit, right? She understands that's a goodbye hug, that she's coming back, she's staying here. She understands all of that. And then, of course, all of that immense doubt creeps in as she calls her a liar. And of course, they've set up that she hates liars. And the heartbreaking thing is that ultimately, in Jinx's mind, it feels like she's been abandoned for a second time, right? That her sister picked this new person, this new replacement over her. But it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? That at that moment, she had to decide and, accept that Powder is gone. She's gone. But, there's also this case to be made here that the person she knew a long time ago, years ago. Things have changed since then, right? And that's another pill that she has to swallow, right? She's been kind of clinging on to this hope of bringing back the Powder that she knew, right? But things change, right? They kind of begin on that point as well, don't they? Echo saying that things change, people change, and sometimes you have to just accept it. This is the new person now. This is who they are now, and that people cannot just go back to the way they used to be. But how about Jinx's entrance on that bridge? Oh my goodness, the score is really quite distinct. I mean, she's being set up as the danger to everyone in that moment, and ultimately she was the danger in that moment. She ends up killing quite a few people there. But it's kind of crazy that, both the sisters kind of return to that bridge under a totally different circumstance. And of course, she's humming the same song, exact same song from that cold open. But this time, she's not afraid. People are afraid of her. But, I spoke of the Echo and Jinx encounter at the end there. Let me kind of actually touch up on the fight that plays out. I mean, stylistically, look at this. I mentioned that 7 episodes in, it's still so... It's still so amazing to look at. And it's still kind of changing the game, isn't it? It's still changing it up. It's still able to kind of inject this new stylistic approach for, the introduction of Echo and the Firelight. The opening, the cold open to this episode is really fantastic as well, right? It's like the Firelight's anthem, kind of their MO. And I love the stylistic approach and the art style utilized. It's a similar art style in the flashback that they give us, right? In the middle of their fight. It's at the beginning stages of that fight. So, right then and there, you can tell that they had a unique friendship, both of these individuals, Echo and Jinx. They used to have this childhood game, right? It was kind of reminiscent of something like paintballing. But you see that Echo, he learned from all those times they played, right? It looked like he was even timing it, right? He was using the timing of it all to, ultimately best her. Because in their childhood days, Jinx used to get him all the time, right? That's how they're presenting it in that scene. Oh man, it was so beautiful to see young Jinx again, and even young Echo. Cute kids, man, both of them. But you see in the present time, he does kind of bait her into it, doesn't he? To him, it almost kind of felt like there's no chance she'll give up this challenge. She'll accept the challenge, and she does. And I love how, there's this smirk, this giggle, right? Because she also realizes, yeah, okay, I remember that. To me, it even felt like that this reminder of their childhood actually kind of transported her back to that mindset, right? And maybe it did help Powder kind of come out for that final moment. And then, of course, as I kind of spoke about at length earlier, that moment happens, as they kind of recognize each other in those final moments. Though, of course, I think neither one of them are going to die, but that's also heartbreaking, isn't it? Because to me, it feels like, Jinx is going to be rescued. Somehow she'll be rescued, but, Powder, or let's just call her Jinx, she makes the choice there to die as Powder, right? But she is going to come back. She'll be She'll be in the rest of the story, of course, right? This is Jinx. She's like the most popular, character of the show. Like I said, that's the one thing I knew about the show before even going into it. The blue-haired girl, Jinx. So she'll be rescued somehow. And yeah, let's see. If Echo got out of there in time, there's that metallic noise right before it explodes. Is that him actually using his stick to knock it out, knock it further out maybe? He'll take some damage for sure. But that being said, how far could he have possibly knocked it? Because Jinx really takes quite a bit of damage. She's presented as someone that's just died, right? So to me, that feels like the symbolic death of Powder. The last remnants of Powder, I think they just died at that moment. And then also the details in the eyes are being utilized here as well. You go back to episode 3, the final frame of episode 3, iconic, of course. Purple eyes at that moment. Jinx has distinct blue eyes. Here I think you see a hint of blue, but it's not as prominent as other moments of, close-ups of Jinx and her really, prominent blue eyes. Here they have that grayish tone to them, don't they? Grayish blue tone to them. So yeah, again, visual storytelling, top tier. Some of the absolute best. And, a few more things I kind of wanted to touch up on. There's that moment you have Caitlin, Echo, and Vi at that refuge, that beautiful place, right? Almost feels like this hidden away paradise. And again, the mural also seemed to have their mother right in the middle, smack bang in the middle, right? But yeah, you see that both Echo and Vi get to see a different perspective, a different take on someone that is from Upside. That, they do understand, that once they do get to kind of experience it and see it, they do understand that the city needs healing, right? Both Echo and Vi's expressions are really quite noticeable here, right? You see that if she wasn't already kind of attached to Caitlin, she certainly became much more attached after that moment as well. You see just the explosion in that expression. So yeah, Caitlin, here you have a young person who gets it, who certainly gets it. And, it'll be interesting to see how the next episode's handled, right? How she handles this, how she presents all of these things to some of these higher ups, right? Her experiences. Ultimately, I think it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Hell, there's a possibility they'll just be brushed aside regardless. But yeah, I thought it was a beautiful moment. And, her kind of imploring Echo to, take a step in potentially ending the cycle of violence, right? Easier said than done. Time and time again, you hear this kind of concept in shows, in films, in stories, but this behemoth of an issue is, it's a difficult one to tackle. It's a difficult one to eliminate, right? Human nature. And then speaking on that matter, you see, Marcus just died and leaves behind his daughter, an orphan. Look at that, yet another orphan created out of this cycle of violence. And then there's a Silco scene that I really liked. He kind of goes to these others that are essentially on the same level as him, or maybe he's, I don't know. You'll have to kind of clarify the power dynamics there, because it's clear that he's the one who put them there. He's the one who elevated them to that position. And, it appears that he can be in these nice, buildings himself, but he chooses to be a part of Undercity. He chooses to be in the heart of Undercity, perhaps as a distinct reminder to himself and to everyone else that, this is the reason they're fighting, and he's at the heart of it. He's not a hypocrite. But these others, these Chem Barons that, again, he elevated to those positions, they feel that all of that is beneath them, right? Again, the visual storytelling of it all. But you see, he brings in this polluted air, essentially, compressed. I think it's taken from the mines, I think he said. These people are not used to it. He's used to it for sure, But you see that both him and Savika did need the mask at a certain point as well. I thought that was such a perfect scene to reestablish, do not forget how you got here. Do not forget who I am. You know, my goodness, the screen presence, the voice acting. Oh, you know, Silco is so damn good as a character. He fills those boots perfectly. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. You know, if I remember anything else, I'll try to bring it back into the next episode. But for now, I think this is a good cutoff point. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in the next few episodes right now, early access, or perhaps timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and perhaps supporting the channel. But if you're interested, check out the links in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, Twitter, Instagram. You can support the channel just by dropping a follow on Twitter. That really does help. It helps the reach of the channel for me as a content creator, right? And opportunities perhaps. So yeah, you know, you can support the channel in many ways. It doesn't have to be just Patreon. You know, you can subscribe, you can drop a comment, all of these things. And they all help. They all help. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks. And thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the penultimate episode of Arcane. Bittersweet. But until then, take it easy.